Everyone always talks about trusting the process, but no one tells you what to do when you're in the middle of it. When you're between versions of yourself, when the old doesn't fit anymore, but the new isn't even clear yet. If you're here right now, there's a good chance that you're in between that space. And I want to talk about my newest book, The Way of the Seeker, and why I wrote it. For a long time, I was always moving, always working towards something, always chasing and striving for the next version of myself. But I was looking for validation, safety, and direction outside of myself. On paper, I was doing well. I had moved, I had a relationship, I was getting back into my health, I had a good job, making a lot of money. And especially on social media, it looked like I was thriving. But I was really avoiding the internal things. I was avoiding what actually needed my attention. Getting back to health felt like it was the answer, and in a way it was, but it wasn't the destination. It was the call. I didn't realize it at the time, but that call was calling me to go into a descent. Once I slowed down enough to listen to my body and what was happening in my life, everything underneath started to surface. Identity issues, value questions, safety. Who was I without productivity and status? Some would call this an ego death or doing shadow work, but this wasn't some spiritual fluff. It was very destabilizing. I cried more. I was just more emotional. I felt more exposed, more vulnerable. I stayed inside because I didn't want to go out like that. And it wasn't some enlightened moment. It just felt raw. That's when the losses came. It was the loss of structure, the loss of money, the loss of certainty, the loss of who I thought I was. My identity had been tied to productivity and stability for so long that when those things fell away, I felt like I was falling with them. I am someone who needs structure. So when everything started to fall apart and fall at once, I didn't feel free. I felt lost. And I felt like there might not be a way back. Okay, I imagined the worst case scenario. I had it on repeat. Homelessness, shame, failure, judgment. Of course, our mind's just going to go to the worst thing possible, catastrophizing. Okay, and it made me wonder why it was so easy for our minds to imagine everything that could go wrong and so hard to imagine what could go right. And I think it's because we don't know the how. We don't know how long it's going to take to come back from that. We don't know what we should be doing in that time span. And so we assume that we're failing, that we're not doing what we should be doing. But at some point, I stopped chasing answers and I stopped consuming everything. I did read one book over and over. I actually listened to it on audiobook called Chop Wood, Carry Water. And it taught me something simple but grounding, to just do the work, to stay with the work and let the work work on you. So this is when I started to focus on regulation instead of resolution, when I focused on routine instead of escape. I got sober, okay? I did embodiment instead of overthinking. I committed to the practices that kept me anchored in the present so I wouldn't drift into spirals of the what ifs or the what should have beens or the what could be's, okay? And when I would drink or smoke or anything like that, consume the marijuana, the cannabis, and I think that things have their time and place, not judging, but when you get rid of it, it makes you really look at things. And we use it to run away. We use it to numb ourselves, especially when we're overusing it. I do believe in the medicinal benefits of it. I think it has its time and place, and not every season you need to use it. And sometimes you have to let it go to get to some deeper things if you really want change, if you really want to do the work. But doing the work looks like journaling. It looks like planning my day so that my mind knew what was next and it wouldn't start veering off. It meant movement, breath work, sunlight, going to the sauna, working out, walking. My sensory grounding tools that I have, these are rituals that brought me back into my body. Instead of numbing my body out to avoid the things, when those things did come up, I had tools to use. These are not things that are trendy. These are anchors for you to become anchored into the present moment and feel stable. And even though I was reading that one book, I didn't find another one that would help me stay with myself long enough for change. Everything felt like it was rushing me towards something. I felt like I was consuming it to get somewhere else. The thing is about my book, this is a map. The gates are real. These practices are anchors, and it helps you be with yourself long enough to get through the change. That's why I'm giving this book away right now. When I was in the middle of my own transition, money wasn't abundant, but it did matter. Every purchase felt like a risk. And I don't want cost to be something that stops someone who's already carrying a lot to get it to the other side. I want to help and assist in that. That's why I do this. So for a short window, I'm covering the cost of the book. You just cover shipping. I'm not doing this because this book isn't valuable. It's going to go to retail price on February 1st. I'm doing this because this support should be accessible to anyone who needs it and wants it. If this speaks to you and you're in the middle of change and you want support during this work, then the link is there in the description box. I'll even pin it in the comments. If reading isn't your thing or you don't really think this book is for you, that's okay. I'm just offering up as an invitation. Trust yourself. Just subscribe to my channel because we talk about this all the time on here. The book is just a different way for people to put these things into practice and to be able to go to it daily and look at it. I'll also be sharing other tools that I'm going to be having soon that will meet you where you are. Again, if the book is not for you, that's okay. Just be looking out for these other tools. Go ahead and subscribe and like this video for me. And if you're in a season where things don't feel like they fit anymore, I want you to know this. You're not behind and you're not broken. You're just in transition, and that deserves care and support. So let's take care of ourselves right now for a moment before I leave from here. It is very cold out here. I want you to pause with me. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Thank you for being here with me. I hope y'all are doing well out there and continue to shine on.